Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my Monday Night Raw review. And tonight's Raw was from Fiserv Forum, I think that's how you pronounce it, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And another week, another shitty Raw it was. Tonight's Raw was fucking shitty, as always. This show tonight was as bad as last week's show. It was just the same thing. Repeats. It was in rerun mode. It was a lazy show. It was fucking shit. So and the show just ended like 2 minutes ago. So let's get on with this review. I'm gonna get this review done fast, hopefully. I know I say that and it'll probably go 30 minutes or even more, 32. Or whatever. So, but the show opened up tonight with Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley in the ring. Corbin, welcomes, the crowd to Raw. And Corbin says, that him and McIntyre and Lashley, they don't eat Thanksgiving food because they think it's garbage. And Corbin is like, oh yeah, let's share what we're thankful for, him, McIntyre, and Lashley. Corbin says he is thankful that he's thankful for being the acting GM of Raw. Okay, nobody cares. Lashley says, he's thankful for these people who sit around and, take what, he wants. McIntyre says he is thankful for the brutal beating that they gave to Strowman last week, which was crazy. And Corbin ends up going on to say that, we won't be seeing Strowman on Raw for a long time. And he goes on to say that he sent a camera crew to Alabama, where Strowman is being set for surgery, which it was revealed in an article that Strowman was really getting surgery today. And we see Strowman, he says he's getting ready to have surgery on his arm. He ends up showing the big bruise from that, what he got from last week from the three of them, from Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley. And he says he would much rather be in Milwaukee. And he says his surgeon never seen an injury like that, from what he got. Strowman goes on to say that he will be back 100%, and the attack from last week is going to look like paper cuts than what he's going to do to Corbin, Lashley, and McIntyre when he's all healed up. Goes on to say that when he gets back, all three of them are going to get these hands. And, the crowd was chanting, get these hands, get these hands. And Corbin says, the way he sees it, there is no way Strowman can compete at TLC. And he says their match is still on at TLC. And if Strowman can't compete, Corbin will win the match by forfeit, and he will be named permanent general manager of Raw, which we all don't want to see. We all don't want to see Corbin be permanent GM of Raw, because already Corbin's doing a shitty job as an acting GM. And so Corbin's talking, and then the lights go out. Elias is on the stage. He was saying, he has been all around the world, and there is a truth that follows him everywhere. And he says all three of them, which he was talking about, Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley, that they can't get it through their heads that WWE stands for Walk with Elias. So Elias goes on to say Leo Rush can be a better GM than Corbin. Drake Maverick would do a better job. Yeah, well, we all see how Drake Maverick does as GM of 205 Live. I think he does a good job on 205 Live. And Elias says tonight it's not about Corbin, but about Lashley. And he ends up singing to Lashley, saying, why, Leo points out his ass when Lashley flexes and bends down. So, so we get a camera shot of Lashley's ass, which we don't want to see. And, he goes on to say that, Lashley sucks. And, Elias goes on to call Bobby Lashley Bobby Trashley. So, and then we had the match get underway. Bobby Lashley versus Elias. And, it started out this way. It was meh. Wasn't that great of a match. We've seen this already. We've seen this already with the both of them. Like I said, rerun mode with Raw. We've seen Bobby Lashley and Elias go at it many times. And one point in the match, Lio Rush ends up pulling the ref out of the ring. The ref calls for the match to be a disqualification. But Corbin goes, no, we ain't having that. And he ends up saying the match is now a no disqualification match. So pretty much Elias ended up getting destroyed by Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre. So we had Lashley end up stomping on Elias's guitar because Elias was going to use the guitar to smash it on Lashley. But then Corbin ended up coming in. He had a chair. He ended up hitting chair shots to Elias. And we just saw, all three of them just started taking out Elias. McIntyre then ended up hitting a Claymore kick to Elias. Then we saw McIntyre do this, like he slingshotted Elias into the steps outside of the ring, which looked brutal. And Lashley then, ran around the ring, and he ended up delivering a spear to Elias. And then we had Lashley roll Elias back into the ring. Lashley was just standing there, end up putting his knee or his foot on top of Elias to score the win. So Bobby Lashley ends up winning the match. So that's how it went. Nothing more else I could say about it. Was we've seen it before with Bobby Lashley and Elias. Like I said, repeat, rerun mode. Then when Raw came back from commercial, we saw Baron Corbin. He ended up firing a crew member, ordering him out of the building. Alexa Bliss ends up coming, says to Corbin that she ends up saying to Corbin that he is doing a great job. She goes on to say to Corbin that if there is, anything she can help with, Corbin shouldn't hesitate to ask. Corbin ends up saying to Alexa that he's got a lot on his plate. And, he ends up asking Alexa to oversee the entire Raw Women's division. So he ends up putting Alexa in charge to oversee the whole Raw Women's division. So we'll see how that plays out. With Alexa overseeing the Raw Women's division. Then we saw Dean Ambrose. He was shown getting shots. He was shown saying that Milwaukee is a toxic dump. And he goes on to say that, next week he promises to be at Raw, which is going to be in Houston, Texas next week. And he says he doesn't want to risk coming out tonight in Milwaukee because the people are like Seth, and he ends up calling them vermin. And he says he will not go to Houston next week without his rabies shots. And there was a doctor in there, a physician in there, giving Ambrose a shot. And he makes, I think he was doing like the rabies shot where he had to take a little bit of drop a little bit of his pants. And he goes on to say, he says to Seth, there is no shower that can wash away his sins. There is no medicine that can cure. He ends up saying that there is no medicine that can cure the sickness in Seth's soul. And he ends up saying that Seth is a lost cause. He says at TLC he's going to put Seth out of his misery for good. And to me, the whole Dean Ambrose Seth Rollins feud so far is the only worth feud that is pretty decent on Monday Night Raw. I mean, I'm really liking this feud so far. Then we had, of course, we had a rematch from last week. Like I said, rerun mode for tonight's Raw. We had the Lucha House Party, Kalisto, Gran Metalik, Lince Dorado versus the Revival, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. Same match as last week, Lucha House Rules, where the 3 Lucha House Party members, are competing against the Revival. We saw this last week. If you've seen the match last week, you know who wins tonight. That's all I could say. That's all I could fucking say. If you saw the match last week, there's your winners for tonight. At this point, like I said, the Revival, they need to go to SmackDown. They need to get the hell off of Monday Night Raw. It is absolutely pathetic how they're treating the Revival. Pathetic. Moving on. Nia Jax and Tamina end up coming out. Nia says, as Corbin said earlier, we have so much to be thankful for. And she knows the entire Raw roster is thankful for her. And she is thankful for breaking Becky Lynch's face. And she says, she's the sole survivor of the, the Women's Survivor Series team. She says that she put Becky on the shelf with a concussion, which got a lot of boos from the crowd. And of course, WWE doesn't know when they're going to clear Becky to be back, which sucks. Hopefully, Becky could return by the Royal Rumble. So, but I know that's hopefully they get Becky to come back before the Royal Rumble. So that way, in the Women's Royal Rumble, she could get her hands on Nia. And Nia says Ronda wanted to face Becky so bad, but she took it away from her. She took it away from Ronda. She goes on to say that at TLC, she's going to take the Raw Women's Championship back. And she says ever since Ronda stepped into the ring with her, and she shows what she did to Ronda at Money in the Bank, and she also shows how far Ronda has fallen by showing a clip of what Ronda went through at Survivor Series when she took on Charlotte. And she ends up making fun of Ronda, saying how she is a true champion, just mimicking Ronda. So she ends up saying Ronda hasn't been the same since her first match, and that that Nia has been on the roll. And so out came Ronda, and she ends up saying to Nia that she gives Nia credit, and she says it wasn't luck that that Nia won the Battle Royal at Evolution. She goes on to say that she stands guard on top of the mountain, because at TLC she's going to rip Nia's arm off and slap Charlotte with it. So the Ronda Charlotte feud ain't over yet. And Ronda says to Nia, how about if Nia had a shot at her right now? And Nia ends up telling her, oh, we're not going to do it that way. And that she ends up saying that she could beat Ronda right now, but she's stalling for time. Meaning that she's going to save it for TLC. And so Natalya ends up coming out. The Riot Squad come out of nowhere, attacks Natalya. Ronda comes and saves Natalya to get the Riot Squad to retreat away. So that's what ended the other segment. But meh segment. It was not a good segment. Then we had Drake Maverick end up cutting a promo saying most of the crowd have never experienced real fear. As a 7-foot giant lifted him, he was talking about the Big Show, who lifted him by the neck. And he's like, oh yeah, if a 7-foot giant lifted you, we would have lost control of our bodily function as well. Still talking about how he pissed his pants at Survivor Series. And he goes on to say that he's going to make Bobby Roode and Chad Gable experience that feeling later tonight. So and that's the promo that was cut by Drake Maverick. He had AOP there. Sorry about that, but then we got to the match. AOP versus Bobby Roode and Chad Gable for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Before the match, Bobby Roode and Chad Gable were getting interviewed by Charlie Caruso. And they both said that the time for jokes is over. And both of them started teaming to win the titles. And they go on to say that, they started teaming to win the titles and make the entire division glorious. So, and then we had the match. AOP, Bobby Roode, Chad Gable for the Raw Tag Team Championships. This was, we saw this last week with AOP and Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. What can I say? Other than Drake Maverick end up stealing Bobby Roode's robe. He goes to the back and he ends up trying it on in the bathroom. He's like, oh, look at this. This robe. And before he went to the bathroom, he was on stage. He's doing Bobby Roode's Glorious. So he then puts, as the match is still going, he's on the Titantron. Drake Maverick is on the Titantron from the bathroom. He then puts Bobby Roode's robe in the toilet, and then he ends up pissing on it. And that eventually led to AOP getting the upper hand in the match. They end up hitting a powerbomb neckbreaker combo on Bobby Roode to score the win. So AOP retains the Raw Tag Team Championships. Not surprised by that. Moving on. And we had Bayley and Sasha backstage. Alexa ends up coming up to them and says, you know, she wouldn't be in charge of the women's division without their help at Survivor Series. And she ends up thinking, you know, she thinks, you know, part of why they don't, you know, get on is, you know, they don't really know each other. That Alexa doesn't really know about, you know, Bayley and Sasha that well. Sasha ends up saying to Alexa she knows enough, but Alexa says she wants them to have an open forum with the WWE universe later on tonight. So that was that. Then we have Finn Balor end up kind of promo saying, you know, if you don't stand with Baron Corbin, there will be consequences. He says tonight he's going to stand up and fight for the right side. And Finn Balor took on Baron Corbin later tonight. Another match that we have seen a lot of times before. So, but then we had Ember Moon versus Alicia Fox, and now it's revealed to be. It was revealed that, you know, Ember Moon's new partner, replacing Braun Strowman, is Kurt Hawkins. And I'm like, really? Really? Out of all the people in the locker room, you give Kurt Hawkins to Ember Moon? The guy who has a history losing streak. Out of all the people in the locker room, you pair her with Kurt Hawkins for the mixed match challenge. Unfucking believable. Unbelievable. So we had Ember Moon versus Alicia Fox. Boring match. Shit match. Ember Moon wins with the Eclipse. Then we had, after the match, No Way Jose ends up coming out with his conga line. We haven't seen No Way Jose on Raw in months. So probably on Superstars or Main Event having matches. And of course, we get another shitty match. Another shitty match after Ember Moon versus Alicia Fox. Who did No Way Jose take on? Jinder Mahal. Yay! Jinder Mahal versus No Way Jose. Boring match. Shit match. Jinder Mahal wins with the Colossus. That was that. Now we'll get into which I consider was the only match that was decent tonight. Even though these two guys went at it so many times before, but it delivered. You know, they both delivered. So we had Seth Rollins come out. He was issuing a open challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. So he ends up coming out and says Dean Ambrose made him run around last week, and he's back to doing what's best, and that is a fighting Intercontinental Champion. He goes on to say he's done chasing Dean Ambrose around and looking for answers. You know, well, he's done chasing Ambrose and he's done looking, you know, for answers. He says he hopes Ambrose comes to Raw next week. He ends up calling Ambrose a liar and a coward, and he doesn't give a damn. He says the Intercontinental Championship Open Challenge is live. So basically, you know, we're waiting for, you know, who's going to answer Seth's Open Challenge. Sorry about that, but I was saying, you know, we were waiting to see who Seth's, you know, opponent would be, who would answer, you know, his Open Challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. And, the superstar that came out was Dolph Ziggler. So Dolph ends up coming out, says to Seth that since Ambrose stabbed him in the back, his head and heart isn't the same. He says, he does what's best. Seth to lose to him, and that he will go back to being the best in the world. And Dolph says he will go back to being the Intercontinental Champion. And so we had the match go on the way. Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship. And this was a decent match. This was the only match that was entertaining tonight. Even though both of these guys went at it before, they still delivered a decent match. And the crowd really enjoyed it. Sorry about that again, but Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, both these guys gave it all they got in this match. It was a back and forth match between the both of them. Seth Rollins ended up getting the win. He ended up hitting a superplex on Dolph, counter into the Falcon Arrow. Got the pin there. The match was over. Seth Rollins wins. Still retains the Intercontinental Championship. Really like how Seth Rollins, every time he does that, he does the superplex and then counters it into the Falcon Arrow. I think that's a good, I think that's a good move. That's a great move from Rollins. Always enjoy when he does it, when he hits that. So, but all in all, it was the only entertaining, decent match tonight. Really liked it. Even though we saw both these guys go at it before, they still delivered. Then we had Alexa Bliss come out and says, she is overseeing the entire Raw Women's division, if anybody forgot. And she gives the crowd an open forum to ask questions to Sasha and Bayley. And, Sasha and Bayley end up coming out. Then Alexa, says, "Oh, does anybody have any questions?" And Alexa's just, talks about the crowd. Just talking down to the crowd. One girl asked a question, and her question was, if both Sasha and Bayley were to change the Raw Women's division, what would they do? Bayley ends up saying, for them, if she were to change the Raw Women's division, she would have, more opportunities. That they should give her more opportunities. And Sasha says she wants to send Alexa back to SmackDown, which the crowd popped for that a little bit. And then Alexa says Bayley brought Sasha down. Alexa was trying her hardest to get Sasha and Bayley to fight, but it ended up failing. And so Sasha says her and Bayley are a tag team, and they are, of course, best friends. And Bayley says, she wants to ship Alexa, not to SmackDown, but back to hell, because that's where she came from. And then we had Mickie James, Dana Brooke, and Alicia Fox come from behind, and they took down both Bayley and Sasha. It was a garbage segment. It was a shitty segment, in my opinion. It was a waste of time. So then we had Baron Corbin versus Finn Balor, the main event. We've seen this before, 100 times before. Same old shit. Baron Corbin, Finn Balor was back and forth. And then we had, Corbin later on, towards the end of the match. Corbin gets on the mic. Corbin had enough of Balor, and so he gets on the mic, and he made the match a 2-on-1 handicap match. So it was him and McIntyre versus Balor. And so right from there, Finn ended up taking out Drew McIntyre. Went to went to Corbin, took him out, and then, then we had Drew McIntyre end up hitting the Claymore kick to Balor to score the win. So Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre win the match. I mean, are we all getting sick of? We are getting sick of Corbin changing the matches around. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. And then after the match, Lashley ends up coming out. All three of them, of course, beat down on Finn Balor. So yeah, so let's add Finn Balor to the list, the third guy to get the shit beat out of from Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Finn Balor. First, it was Strowman. Then earlier in the night, it was Elias. And now, in the third one, Finn Balor. And that's how Raw ended, where with all three of them, beat up on Balor. That was it. That was your Monday Night Raw. Garbage show. It was rerun mode. Same old shit. So yeah, so that was it. That was your Monday Night Raw. So, yes, anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Garbage show, shitty show. Hopefully SmackDown is a much better show tomorrow night. Hopefully it delivers. Hopefully it's not as shitty as Raw tonight. So, yeah, so anyways, give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow night for the SmackDown review and the Mixed Match Challenge review in the same video. So I'll see you all back here tomorrow night. Bye.